Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so happy to have you here today. And we're going to be diving into a topic that is soul taking. It's very deep, it dips into your soul. And it's very dear to me too. As a Christian leadership, life, and career coach, I'm looking at those who are coming in. Of course, as we say, we're going to talk about what it means to align with your calling and how it can really impact your life beyond the bottom line. Thank you for joining. Franklin, you came last week too. Thank you so much. Sarah, thank you for joining. Apple, thank you for joining. Harmony, thank you for joining. All right, so I want to dig into the surprising ways obedience can bring peace, purpose, and fulfillment to our lives. And so I'm excited to have you join the conversation. Today, we are really looking at the ROI, the return on investment of purpose through obedience. And we want to talk about that today. How do I know that all of my work is actually paying off? We want to explain the ROI of inner alignment today. And so I want to change my screen so persons can actually see what we'll talk about today. And we want to start with a line that says, true purpose is realized not in the pursuit of our desires, but in the faithful obedience to what calls us beyond ourselves. I want to repeat that just for a few minutes until some others join us. And so true purpose is realized not in the pursuit of our desires, but in the faithful obedience to what calls us beyond ourselves. What is it that calls us beyond ourselves? I want to put it into perspective and I want to call it purpose. The reasons why we are born, why we exist, why we were created, the problems that we were created to solve is the faithful obedience to a calling that is beyond ourselves, that takes us to a place of significance. Significance, as we said last week, is how we serve others, our impact, and how we move. So we are closing this series on soul health. And this is our third and final week talking about the topic of soul health. For those who don't know me, I am Dr. Marcia Thomas. I am a Christian leadership consultant, life and career coach. I am a motivational speaker. I am an author. I am also a leadership trainer, development trainer, and I help persons also to successfully complete their dissertation. And so those are some of the things that I do. Now, as we talk about obedience, we want to put it in the perspective of its original source. God said to us that if we be willing and obedient, we shall eat the good of the land. We're going to explain that later. But for now, we want to take from that the obedience is a very important currency, if not the currency of kingdom success. And so we want to dig in today to discover the eternal return on saying yes to God's path. That's what we want to talk about. And so I want to ask you some questions. I want you to reflect because sometimes it is in this reflection that we find ourselves. Dr. Janice Brooks calls it the intentional pause. And she has developed a 6 weeks program on how you can take the various pauses to find and dig into your purpose. I wanted to put that in because that is important. I also offer a purpose alignment accelerator program. Mine is a little longer, 3 months, because we want to take you from where you are to where you were meant to be. And that process, I use a free model to take you from where you are to where you were meant to be when God created you. And that involves knowing your purpose, understanding your purpose, and living your purpose and turning it into a profitable calling. That's a simple pickup. So I guide you through a purpose alignment audit and spiritual gifts test to identify and integrate these unique gifts and talents into identifying your purpose, the persistent theme message of your life, why you were created, understanding the steps that you take to clock into this purpose before it is too late. It's never too late to realize what you need to get done, but you don't want to keep your purpose in dormancy and you don't want to derail it. And sometimes we think we know, but when we share, we recognize that we have been pouring into a calling that was never yours in the beginning. And then you are guided using all of what is in you to live your purpose, to get into the business of living joyfully, but most importantly, to live in peace. And that is so important in a chaotic, uncertain environment. But purpose gives you direction, anchors you, and grounds you into your identity and into your purpose and your calling. So you ask yourself these questions. What are you really working for? And is disobedience that you have, this commitment to your profession, to your job, to your responsibilities, is that aligned with your calling, disobedience, this drive? Is it really aligned to your calling or your calendar? And what is the return you're chasing? What is it that you're chasing? And could you be feeling that there is this gap? There is something more, there is something missing, there is something that I should be doing. I am comfortable, but I'm not contented. Can it be that what you're really going after, what is missing, can only be found in surrender? And so those are the questions I need you, sorry, to ask yourself. And so let's go with, we're calling that the steps towards the return on investment to inner alignment. Because we get returns on our investment. Whenever we plant, we receive a harvest. The harvest might be bountiful or it might not be bountiful. And so we go back to the drawing board and we look at what it is that is important to us. So let's look at what the world measures and see how we measure what we have. Thanks for joining me, Charito. Thank you. Great to be here too. You're joining Harmony, you're joining Franklin, and there are some other persons here that I'm also thanking for joining. Thank you for taking the time, Charito. And so what the world measures is promotions, popularity, productivity, followership, applause, performance, platform size, profit margins, all of those things that can be measured with money, with a performance evaluation, with a checklist. And so when you get a promotion, it's a very important thing in this world, the world of work, in the workplace, in your industry. And when you are popular, you are seen to be doing well also. If you're able to meet deadlines and miss your doctor's appointment and important celebrations for your family, like their birthday and so on, because you had to be on a company's conference, you had to be you're a trainer at such a time and so on, you did not get the time off, you are not allowed to take your children with you in a different, you are seen to be highly productive. You're committed to your organization, you're buying into their vision, and you are very capable. If your followership, you can get a large group of persons to influence, And if you can turn their minds into the direction you want them to go, so they support your company and get the products going and support you, that is seen as greatly exceptional transformational leadership. If you can get applause as you enter a room, person stand up and they clap. You have not said anything yet, but you have gathered that amount of ammunition, and you have that amount of persons bowing to your feet. You get that applause, the achievement, the title, the recognition, regardless of who you are. You are seen as being a great leader. And if you are able in your performance to gain the results that are desirable, regardless of how much it focuses on profits and not people, you are an exceptional, admirable role model as a leader, because you have topped the charts every year. You have brought in the amount that should be brought in, but what has it cost you is the question that you must ask. And so, if you allow your organization to tip their profit margin, go way over, and keep it stuck and shackled in the boardroom where persons at that level and their families can always take their cruise and their holidays, but those on the outside can't even pay their doctor bills and lower down in the organization, then you are said to have done extremely well. And so I ask, what is it that you're chasing? What is it that you really desire? And how can you reconcile those benefits with your calling, with your core values, with your soul? And so God promised, if you are willing and obedient, and the universe gives that response, you shall eat the good of the land. And so we want to understand what obedience produces. And you can get productivity in, you can function at your A game, you can have a followership, you can, in fact, have an applause. But that is the externals. That validation is often temporary and it's not lasting, because many times you get those things and you find that in the process you lose yourself. When you have retired, or you're being laid off, or you're being exchanged, you recognize that you have sacrificed too much. You may have sacrificed your family, the relationship with your children. You don't know them the way you think. They have substituted you, meaning they have found other persons that would give them what you were not available, wanted to give, but was not available to give, because in your mind, you were doing everything in your power to make them survive, to make them comfortable, to make them live the life that they are now living. And you are expecting that they would have been eternally grateful. And when all is said and done, they would be waiting for you with the expectation of eternal gratitude. And that's not so. And so the obedience produces what we call deep peace and internal rest. I might be a little strong today because I want us to recognize that in a world of many voices, we have a choice. And the calls that are coming in this world where you have to hustle, you have to move, you have to pay your bills, you have to get this done, you're going to have to choose you again and again, as you choose God and your calling. And so the deep peace and eternal rest that you must have is something that is not automatic. You have to fight for it. And so obedience produces deep peace and eternal rest. It also allows you to be fruitful beyond what you can track, because your blessings are not from man, they are from God, because he promises you that if you're faithful and obedient, you will reap the fruits of the land. And his words does not go back to him void. When he sends out a word, it does what it is required to do. You also, obedience gives you, makes, fulfill that contract between the human and the divine. So you receive divine favor, and doors are open that no man can shut with their physical hand in this generation and the following generation, because of your obedience, because your obedience become your brand. It becomes a stamp and an agreement between the human and the divine. And you also get clarity and focus because you constantly get wisdom from God. You constantly ask of God wisdom. And you get what is called an unshakable identity. You are consistently authentic, true to yourself and true to others. You show up unapologetically. You treat people the way you want to be treated. If it was reversed, whether they are grateful or not, whether they feel that you're just or fair or not, you look at the what is required and you make the right decision and not the popular decision. And many times you know when you're making the popular decision because everybody is pleased. When you're making the right decision, people's feathers get ruffled many, many times more than when you're making the popular decision. So if you want to use that as an indicator, you want to look at those who are complaining about that right choice for the collective benefit of all, and how they are complaining and what they're really saying. Sorry, and that will be an indicator of the mindset and also their commitment and the mutual accountability that is in that workplace. So we want to look at that. Then we want to look at the signs now that you are not getting the returns. You're out of alignment. You're constantly striving. And so you're always doing something else to maintain the title, to maintain the applause, to maintain the camaraderie, to maintain your status. You're constantly striving and not thriving. There's a difference. Good morning, Curtis. Thanks for joining. A very big difference in striving and thriving. And if we are looking at soul health, we do not find ourselves fighting for what is already ours. We claim it. And we go about with the authority that we have that comes from our natural gifts and talents and understanding of our purpose. And also how our roles and responsibilities are position us to carry out our purpose. We have to be very clear about that. We must also avoid, if we are not getting the returns on our investment, meaning our soul health is out of whack, because this is the final series. And so we spoke about our soul health first and second. We looked at those things already. But we are putting it together in relation to the other side of the returns, where we feel we must be profiting in the ways that will make us take a world cruise, will make us buy an expensive car, will make us buy a house that we really don't need. It has a lot of space, but there are only 2 persons or 3 persons, and it's a 7 bedroom. We have to maintain it. We have to keep it together. We want to have a land space, but it's not working out for us because where we, sorry, the environment, the location where we want to purchase that place for status reasons and not because it's a desire that we have, because of how it will work for us and maintain our soul health and give us joy and peace. We are not able to do what we really want to do. So we are very productive and we are very comfortable, but we are not satisfied. We are not fulfilled. We are not at peace. We are not joyful because we keep comparing ourselves with those who have no time to pay attention to us. We keep coveting what other people have, who really have what they need because they can and because that's what they want, and they don't really pay attention to us. And we always try to impress those persons who have no time to stop by us. So all of what we are fluffing in relation to the comparison traps and what we should have as against what other people have, especially if they are doing less than what we are doing, if they appear to be achieving more, you are working, you're hustling, you're at the grind every morning, and they appear to be at rest and at ease. And we seem to feel that what they have is what we should have. And nothing is wrong if we covet good gifts. And the good gifts that we are really to covet is the integrity, the kindness, the compassion, the empathy, the human touch that persons have, the support that some people give, the integrity and the authority that they walk with, even under pressure in a crisis, the resilience, the way they overcome, how they go about doing their business so they can be joyful in all things and give thanks, are some of the good gifts that we should aspire to covet persons for. And there is so when your return is out of alignment, you have anxiety. Despite your success, you feel guilty, or there is some unease when you feel that you should be doing more or you're not doing enough, or you should have achieved more by the time of your age, or your children should be doing this or should be operating or achieving the way John Brown's children are. And so there is confusion. And so you're actually, it's as if you're on a treadmill getting the work done, but you're really not seeing the results. And we don't want to be able to do that. So what is the real return that you should want on your investment of purpose, of your life, of your career? You should really want peace more than performance. And you would want to have your purpose intact more than popularity. Because significance, how you impact others, how you serve, and how you grow yourself and others comes under the ban of the obedience, which is your currency for the eternal rewards that we call legacy, your obedience to your calling and to your purpose. That's what it is, your obedience to your calling and to your purpose that gives you the joy that is simply hard to for many persons to hold on to. It's actually knowing that what you're working for is actually paying off. So when you're doing your deep soul aligned work, the reward isn't always loud. Peace isn't always loud. Peace is not making an announcement. Peace is an attitude, it is a way of life. And that peace that passeth all understanding, knowing whose you are and that you are obedient to Him and that you will reap the fruit of the land is beyond the understanding of many. So, how does it show up, this deep soul alignment that is giving you the returns? It shows up in very subtle ways. And we say some of these ways is that you say no without feeling guilty. You stop whispering your value. So you don't second guess yourself. You don't whisper your value because you're not sure. You take your rest or your pause when it is the time to do that, and you don't necessarily explain. Thank you for joining, Shauna. You don't necessarily explain. You really show up unapologetically. What do I mean? You show up purposeful, whole, and intentional, and not just busy and helpful. And that return, we say, is not just a return on your investment. It's not just a return on income. It's not just profit. It includes the returns on your identity, your integrity, your resilience, your inner peace, which we call your self-belonging. And so you value yourself a lot. And so when we are in alignment, when we are in tune and our internal investment through obedience is paying the dividends of peace and purpose, then we prioritize those activities that preserve our peace, that add value to our life, that truly, truly matters. And that is really what we are saying that will pull people. And so how do we anchor this? How do we anchor this? We anchor it by seeking first the kingdom of God. And He says everything will be added, knowing Him, getting the wisdom from Him, leaning not onto our own understanding, grasping the fact that we were established Before we were born, we had a purpose. Tuning into what that purpose is through the activities that we suggested last week, having your meditation session, doing your digital boundaries, putting aside those things, spending time in quietness, in your pause, so you can hear and listen to the promptings on your heart, to the nurturing of your soul, to the persistent silent cries of this is the way, walk in it. And the result is that you step into your purpose, you press into your purpose, you start living your purpose, and you start making the greater impact. You have peace, you get your breakthrough. We call all of that significance. You become very significant. You are changing lives, you're changing outcomes, and you are growing yourself, others, and others. You're impacting persons so they become masters of their own destiny and identify their soul work, their purpose, their eternal currency through using their unique gifts and talents profitably. And also, you actually serve. You serve others. You are a servant leader. Because if you want to be great, he that is great must become servants. And so service is really the rent we pay from identifying our purpose. However, the peace that we get from doing this joyful work and from serving, becoming the fountain of our existence in all areas, makes us leave this legacy that is not measured by money. We give stability to those who we come around. We give hope. We transmit the peace that we have. We become light. We become salt. And we teach them how to become those things. We make people remain authentic and true to themselves. We treat failure as life lessons. We find delays. We wait on the harvest that comes from these divine delays. And we push persons to always understand that comfort zones are not the best choices, are not the best way to grow. And we make them understand challenges and circumstances and crises and what they are to take out, they carry out. And so it makes them resilient. Those are some of the things we talk about when we talk about impact, we talk about breakthrough, and we talk about peace. That is the sum total of significance. And so we want to reflect and we say, we think about resetting. We want to look at what's draining us, what is draining us, and what is fueling us. And you want to also look at realigning. Once you understand what is taking your peace, what's taking your joy, what's taking your hope, once you understand what is holding you captive, is it the status, is it the shame, is it guilt, is it the desire, the role, is it the title, is it the responsibility? What is keeping you from belonging to yourself? Who have you sold yourself to and your soul to that you must satisfy, you must please, who must validate you? What is it that is keeping you bound to unhappiness, to unfulfillment? What is keeping you bound to uncertainty and doubt? What is keeping you bound to missing out, disappointment, regret? What is keeping you bound? Because purpose, that gives you that return on your investment of authenticity, of significance, of service, of impact, of influence and growth, does not come with pressure. As we say, when you are in tune with your soul's health, when you are entangled with purpose, you don't serve from a place of pressure. You serve from a place of overflow, of peace, because there is the understanding that the obstacles or the blockages are divinely designed, and that there is the other side of it is where the greater work is being done. It's what you carry forward is how you grow and learn, is how you deliver, how you show up, what you are becoming because of your experiences and your response to others as you interact in the exchange of your purpose and the balance of receiving from others who have been placed on your path as destiny helpers to help you to fulfill your purpose, and how you give the mutual accountability and the community of practice that exists when your soul is healthy and there is an identification, understanding, and living of your purpose. So you rebuild your inner strength through soul care practices, and we identified them last week. A lot of them, we set our digital boundaries, we look at meditating, we take back our yes, because when you say yes, you say yes, you give your energy, you give your time, you give your expertise, and so you must guard your yes and be very particular about who you say yes to. And when you say yes, you also take your breaks and you nurture yourself and your soul, and you also make sure that you are actually doing those things that give you joy. So you must ensure that you create those transition rituals, so you don't carry your job with you everywhere, your burdens or your distress. There are places that they are tucked, and they are tucked nicely. All right. So we want to look at this week's challenge as we come to a close. Audit your yes. Look at your calendar. What are you saying yes to that God did not sign? That's your challenge for this week. Just look at your calendar, regardless of who you are. What is your job title or responsibility? Because your role is not your purpose. Many persons are great in their role, but they don't understand their purpose. And so they have this persistent gap, this longing for peace, for fulfillment, for satisfaction, to just be at a place where they know that this is where they ought to be. And it is because they are saying yes to some things that they are supposed to be saying no to. And they are saying no to some things that they are supposed to say yes to. Because purpose, good opportunities are not always God things. And we need that wisdom, we need that pause, we need that soul help to be able to discern when we are to move, what we are to say yes to, what we are to endure, and what we are to evolve from, and so on. And so look at your calendar. That's the challenge for this week. What are you saying yes to that God did not assign? And we want to choose one decision this week that reflects surrender and not striving. We want to make one decision this week, choose that decision that reflects surrender and not striving. All right. And then we want to look at, as we look at those challenges and deeply root ourselves in them, we want to let your next bold move be a step of obedience and not one out of convenience or because you are pressured or compelled. We don't want it. So we want to take the next bold move and let it be a step of obedience, not out of convenience, compulsion, or pressure. And you want to also pause and pray and ask God, where have I replaced peace with performance? Where have I replaced my peace with performance? Because sometimes there are so many persons who have high migraine, have issues, have so many things because they get caught up in the subtle attacks of burnout, overcome it, and they overdo stuff. And so they get caught up in the we are not building our inner strength and the light from the inside, because we get caught up in the hidden attacks of burnout, and we the silent wars of doubt and achievement and performance and title. And also we get bogged down by the uncertainty of the rapidly changing times. And so we want to be able to reflect and do those exercises that I'm suggesting to you, because I want you to have the key takeaways from the 3 sessions that we have done so far. As we close down the session, I want to repeat the takeaways. Your success is not sustainable without soul care. Very important that you understand that you must know yourself and whose you are. You must know what you want to do and how you want to do it. And you must get direction from God. You don't have to lead from a burnout place, from a comparison place, which is a trap. You don't want to lead from a place of high risk of keeping pace with the Joneses, or dependent on titles and roles and responsibility. You also you want to you don't have to also chase what is already given to you by God through your unique gifts and talents. You just want to position yourself through the hearing and understanding of God's voice and trust Him that He has gone before, He has prepared the resources, and He has prepared the means. And in your waiting, you must wait with expectation, and you must wait with preparation. And so sometimes God prepares us, but we are in a waiting season because we are not learning the lessons. And so our resources are not coming in. There is stagnation, there is delay, and there is also discouragement and distress. And there is helplessness because we have to remember that we are to be depending on God and stop chasing a calling that is not yours. And we end up being exhausted, we end up feeling hopeless, and we end up getting angry, bitter, and frustrated because of the comparison traps, because of the success mill, and because they we are we have this comfort illusion and this productivity illusion that if we do more, if we add another title, if we go to bed much later, and if we do another investment, and if we do another collaboration, then life will change. But purpose doesn't call for any of that. Clarity and confidence in purpose comes from understanding that what is important and how the return of peace adds up alongside profit. And that more does not mean that you receive more. Less can be more depending on how you look at it, what you want to achieve, what you're chasing, what you want to obtain, what is truly valuable to you, and what truly matters to you. And so you must remember that you were made to strive from the inside out and not from the outside in. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot use what you don't know that you have. So we are saying that the world needs what you carry, but you have to know what you carry, how you're to deliver what you carry, who must receive what you carry, and when they must receive what you carry. Because if you don't, then you're doing it. You're carrying something that the world needs. You're giving it to the wrong people, and that costs you your soul. You can't be happy. You're not satisfied. Persons are oppressing you. They are ungrateful. You feel like you can't please anyone because you're pouring into the wrong cup and into the wrong calling. So what are we saying with this? For you to get your investment, the investment through obedience, to get peace, to get self-fulfillment and actualization, and to receive joyful work, being able to spend quality time with your family and your loved ones, and being able to serve from a space of freedom, you must protect it, and you must prioritize it, and you must prosper from it. Your soul health, you must make sure that you do that. So here I am coming to the end, and I'm saying if this conversation resonated with you, you might need to take the next step, and I'm inviting you to take the next step. You just need to book your soul sync strategy session. And in this session, we will work together to realign your leadership, your calling, and your soul health for sustainable impact in your family, in your personal life, and in your career in 2025 and beyond. However, if for some reason you still need a little nudge, you're not quite ready, I would suggest that you start by doing your quick purpose alignment audit. Or if you want to reach out to me, I can give you your self assessment so you can match it, you can pull it together, and you can, after, book your session with me to see how we can move it along. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out, Charita and Curtis and Franklin and Harmony. And we're going to be looking, all of you. I know who you are. Some are listening on YouTube and some are actually on LinkedIn. And those who are going to be doing the replay, we want you to pay attention and have a peaceful, intentional, and purpose filled day, and also a great rest of week. Thank you, Cherito. Thank you so much, Dr. Marcia. Very valuable teaching and lessons. Very good. Thank you so much. And may you have a good day also. Until we talk about the next topic, next week we're starting a new series and we want to move in a topic that says what you must do when you seem to be experiencing a long pause, what you are to do. So that's what we want to talk about. When God seems to be saying wait or stop in your purpose plan, in your career, if you're going through a winter season, how do you come out of that with the wisdom from God and maintain your soul health? We want to look at something like that next week. And so look out for that. Thank you so much. Have a great day.